Welcome to Truth Talk. It's that time again. Yep, local elections are right around the corner, and we are here to give you all insight on candidates who are wanting your vote to lead in our community. Voters can look at these episodes as job interviews. These candidates are applying, and we, the voters, will decide who to hire. But you have to get out and vote. So let's get started, and please, don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay tuned for other upcoming episodes and stay informed.
Well, thank you, Cory, for coming in and joining me to have some discussions about you running for City Council. So I appreciate you coming by, and I wanted to take some time to just get to know you and get to really talk about who Cory is and why Cory is running. I know that you've been involved in the community in real estate.
Yes.
And so in looking in your background, you've been involved in like neighborhood safety as well as local economic development, as well as community responsiveness from, city leadership and so forth. So let's talk about Cory and let's talk about your background. So give us some of your background and then we can kind of dive into you running for City Council.
Well, I appreciate that. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I always love the opportunity to share my vision and passion for the city that has adopted me. I'm not native to Arlington, so I moved here in 2001 at the age of 14 when Vandergrift Honda built the new store on I-20. My father was in the car business, and the Van Tile Auto Group brought my dad out of New Orleans to run that store. And so I went into Shackelford Junior High in 8th grade, then right into Lamar High School, and which is where I met the person who would become my wife as of this November of 20 years. And
20
together,
years? You don't look old enough to
That's because I wasn't
that
old
long.
enough. But you know what? We made it work, and we've had a wonderful marriage for almost 20 years, and that's bore us 3 great children. Our oldest is Luke, and our middle daughter is Elizabeth, and the youngest is Alexander or Xander, and they all go to school right here in Arlington. So Christina and I, after graduation, we went to the University of Texas at Arlington, where we both graduated, her with her degree in nursing, and then me with my degrees in philosophy and classics. Christina today is the nurse manager of labor and delivery, postpartum, and NICU at Texas Health Hughley in Burleson. And she is an absolute rock star in what she does. I continue to just be in awe of her every day and what she gets to do and all the accomplishments and success that she's had in that profession. And then I got involved in real estate after college, where I began working with my mother. And so for the last 16 years, my mother and I have been servicing Arlington through our real estate business. And then in 2021, we opened Dream City Realty together that we still operate to this day.
Wow. Boy, I tell you, there's just a lot going on there, a lot of moving pieces, but it seems like it's just build upon each other in order for, let's talk about the real estate, okay? Yeah. Let me just kind of dive into that one. And that's important. Yes. It's important. And when we look at real estate, it is so vital to draw people here, but there's a lot of factors, right? You think about safety, you think about schools, you think about taxes, you think about like the entertainment district, you think about all these factors that play into that. And so, and I'm sure that you hear that a lot with citizens.
Yes.
Do I want to move there? And if I do, this is why, or I don't want to move there because of the why. And I want to kind of talk about some of those whys. And so, let's just say that, you have a client that has young kids or whatever. And so tell me what you hear from them that may be concerning, that may be something if you were elected that, I got to fix that.
Well, I think the biggest concern right off the bat that people have is our school rating, which unfortunately is not stellar. That's not something that we can directly impact on a city council. However, I do think we can help raise those ratings by building better neighborhoods, by creating ownership opportunities for stronger economic partners. And what I mean by that is diversifying our housing opportunities for more ownership. Those are what really feed schools. And so one of the detriments to the school system is the high turnover rate in students that are mostly being fed by apartments. Yeah. And I want to go right off the bat and say this is not demonizing apartments in any way. However, when you have a high student population that is mostly living in apartments, what you're mostly going to see is a high turnover. The average life cycle of a tenant in an apartment is 2 years. And so when you're talking about a scholastic education from elementary school that starts in pre-K to kindergarten that goes up through 4th, 5th grade, that means that student is likely going to see 2 to 3 different elementary schools before they see junior high school. That's a disruption in the learning pattern. So we have to be very careful as we plan out in the future. Arlington's a 45% owner-occupied to rental community. Now, we shouldn't be alarmed by that. That's just the facts. And so, in my opinion, as a city council, to help the independent school district with that issue, we need to be pursuing more ownership opportunities for the city, even if it's high-density ownership like townhomes and condos. Those just have a longer life cycle. The average life cycle of an owner is 8 years nationally, as opposed to 2 years for a tenant.
Right.
So just a small change like that, creating a more stable presence in the schools, could certainly increase the education and bring up the ratings. So little things like that, people don't realize how effective the real estate market plays in just the normal operations of the city.
Because it gives them stability.
Absolutely.
The kids, right? It gives them stability. And so, like, one of the things that, I mean, you know, that because we're landlocked, right?
Yes.
So we can't really, I know that AISD, they own a lot of the properties.
They are the largest property owners in Arlington.
Yeah, I get blown away every time I hear that, because it's like, okay, if you can't build anything on it, guys, come on, let's do something with it. And to your point, like townhomes, but not for rent, but to buy. That's
but even
the
if
other
we
thing.
had mixed use. So there are projects where you can do high density projects that have a mixture of rental and ownership. You also have to take into consideration the developer. The developer is going to be very concerned about their ability to recuperate their investment for the project. So they're always going to be thinking about that.
Yeah.
So developers don't necessarily want to do high density ownership. The yield at the end is not as high as a turnover residual income that they get from rental income. Having worked in this industry and worked with developers for many years, I understand a bit how they think. But there are ways that we can structure the projects where it's beneficial to them and we get what we want, which is a more stable ownership base.
Okay. And so one of the areas that I've been really looking at, because it seems that there are more projects, if you will, more on the north side, more on the west side, but not so much on the east side. And it's like there's so much opportunity over there. So let's just say, and I know that you're at large. Okay, your district is at large. So how can we improve that? Because you can drive down Arkansas and then see the immediate change.
Yes.
And so it's like, can we do something about that? What is your vision on trying to, like, you know what, we got to do something on this side too?
Absolutely. So there's no magic wand for development. And in fact, it's actually a very simple formula. Developers always want to look at the economic metrics of an area before they're going to build anything. Because most of the things that are going to feed these developments are going to be the retail resources that are available. So food, beverage, shopping,
Right.
Other kinds of services, nail salons and so forth, right? These are all retail services. Well, depending on the economic metrics, depends on what kind of development the builder wants to put there and what kind of retailers they can court, for lack of a better phrase. So if we look at the economic metrics of Arlington, we see that East Arlington is one of the more impoverished areas of Arlington, which is why as you drive down Arkansas, you can see that immediate shift. So what we need to do is we have to work on raising the economic base of East Arlington. And because I look at everything from a real estate perspective, nothing shifts the paradigm of poverty faster than real estate ownership. It provides people equity that they can leverage into other projects, equity that they can borrow against themselves if they want to do large improvements to the property. The average net worth of a renter in this country is $2,500. The average net worth of a homeowner in this country is $380,000. That is a tremendous gap.
Yes. to say the least. Agree. Yeah, that's a huge gap.
When we look at the economics of the city, we need to make sure we're looking at the lens of ownership and rental. How many of our citizens are owning and how many of them are renting? And of the number that are renting, how many of them would own if they had the opportunity to do so? That, in my opinion, is the chief principle of city governance, is being able to provide the necessary resources for prosperity to the citizens. Mm-hmm. So if we cannot bring and provide ownership opportunities to our citizens, what are we doing?
That's a good question. What are we doing? Because I see a lot of, I've spoken with many people, especially on the east side, because mainly they're my race, Hispanic, and so or Asian. You're seeing a lot of them being on the east side, and I just feel like, golly, there needs to be something, some kind of incentive, something to be brought over on the east side to, like, to your point, to kind of raise that up and give them that opportunity. Not that they're the ones that do own, they take pride in what they do have. But I just feel that there's just so much that needs to be done there. And I understand, to your point, that the developers have to look and see, what's being offered, and which is why you see a lot of things happening in the South, in the West, in the North. And it's just like, we need to do something in the East so that it's well-rounded. Yes. So, okay. So
just to finish that topic, though, the question always comes, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? Because people want better retail, but they also want better housing opportunities. Retail is not going to be the guinea pig. They're just not going to do it. They can't afford to do it. There's too much overhead and there's too much failure rate in retail for them to take a chance to say, okay, we'll set up a retail, and if we build it, they will come. They're not going to do that. They're going to insist that the metrics match, at least with some degree of confidence, that the metrics match what they can expect to accommodate. If it's not there, they're not coming, which is one of the reasons why people say, how come we don't have a Trader Joe's? How come we don't have all these things? Because the fact of the matter is, most of the metrics around Arlington do not favor the Trader Joe's business model. And we can ask and ask and ask, and they're going to say no. So until we raise that base up, somebody like that is not coming here.
So, okay, so let me dive into something there then. Our zoning or our ordinances that we have, because you see some of the, I guess, some of the multi-units that they're not as cared for. Mm-hmm. And it may be because maybe the requirement, it's my understanding, hadn't changed in a while. And so they kind of keep it, mm-hmm. It's running, it's okay. So do you think by raising that bar on those landlords or those properties that it would kind of be a good push to turn that trend around?
Possibly. And I always want to be careful when we talk about stricter, code enforcements from government agencies, because at the heart of it, I am a private property rights advocate. I will always support a private property owner's right to do with their own as they see fit. Mm-hmm. However, when you are the owner of a multi-unit development that services a population across various, genders, ethnicities, socioeconomic backgrounds, there are standards that have to be upheld. And that's the role of the city, is to make sure that you as an owner are providing the minimum required services and taking at the bare minimum the required upkeep and maintenance standards for the project. And that's where we get into code compliance. So we have ordinances, and then we have the developer and building codes. And that's what code compliance does. They drive around all day, and they make sure that the properties are in compliance with the code, that they are, adhering to the code, so there's not trash, or if the facade is starting to show signs of failure, like wood rot, those things would get flagged. Unfortunately, the remedies for those things can be just as simple as a new coat of paint, because you can't force somebody to make a large investment in the maintenance of their infrastructure. You can't force somebody to do that. And so when they say, hey, this part is out of code, you need to fix it, that fix could be just as simple as a coat of paint, which doesn't...
To hide it.
It doesn't really solve the problem. It certainly makes it look better from the curb, but it doesn't really solve the problem.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. I get where you're coming from there. All right, so let's talk about, I have a few questions here. Let me go with this one. So, what is one major Arlington decision you believe was mishandled, and how would your approach have been different from both a leadership and a financial standpoint?
So, again, I'm very concerned about the projects that we've developed for the last several years. Having served on the TERS board for the last several years, which if somebody doesn't know, that's the tax increment reinvestment zone. It's a special tax break that we can give to developers in certain areas of the city. We have a TERS in downtown. We have a TERS in the entertainment district. And then developers can apply for some of those tax incentives through those various boards. So I served on one of those boards. And what the trend I was seeing in downtown for the last several years is the same kind of project. It's the multifamily on the top, mixed-use retail on the bottom. The issue with that is we're going to continue to see the same projects over, which are going to yield the same results. So if you look at the rental metrics in downtown, it's almost become exclusively, student housing. Because that's what the market dictated it to be. They were pitched and designed and built to be luxury apartments. Well, the problem with that is something isn't luxury because you say it is. It's luxury because that's the clientele that you attract. Well, those apartments did not attract that clientele. And so the owners have to adjust the rates to be attractive, and the people they were attracted to were student housing. And that's what they become. So if you look
let me stop you. Why do you think that it didn't attract what they thought?
Well, because most people, I would say most people of a certain socioeconomic, area don't want to rent. And if they are going to rent, then there needs to be the amenities that make renting worthwhile. So if you look in downtown, I'll ask you a question. Name me a retail shop in downtown. A place where you can go in and purchase a piece of merchandise.
Just a piece of merchandise?
Piece of merchandise, a handbag, a pair of shoes.
Well, the places I've gone, they've closed them. So, in Lincoln Square.
Well, but that's not downtown. I'm talking downtown.
Oh, you're talking about, right. Abrams
that's
is,
right in downtown. So
you're right.
There's a small retail shop that sells some retro, trendy clothes and that kind of stuff.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's very much geared towards a younger generation, college student kind of thing. There's nowhere for anyone to shop in downtown.
That makes sense.
All of the other opportunities are food and beverage, and they're food and beverage that are catered to a college level student, right? Bars, ramen places, pho places, stuff like that. And I love all of those places and frequent them a lot. Typo has become one of my wife and I's favorite places. They got great food. Their little speakeasies, amazing. So I'm not knocking what we have. My point is that we're continuing to get the same kind of business. We're not diversifying retailers. So there's no reason for somebody who's in their late 30s, early 40s, late mid-50s, whatever, to say, hey, let's go walk through downtown.
They don't have a Louis Vuitton. They don't have a Coach.
Or
they don't have
But we didn't even have to go to that extreme.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, a Gap. Yeah, you're right. Kind of like the outlet
Right,
store.
We don't have to go to the far end of the spectrum. We don't need Tiffany & Co. and Prada, but there are no shopping opportunities. There's a great record store there. So if you want to go through some vintage vinyl and stuff like that, that's great. But those aren't what we think of when we think of traditional retail opportunities. And so if we're going to bring those opportunities in there, then we have to, once again, and this is just a common phrase, change the economic metrics. So just go back to how we started this question was, what are some of the decisions I've disagreed with? I've disagreed with our decisions to continually approve projects that are the same multi-unit rental top, mixed retail on the bottom, because I believe they're going to continue to generate the exact same thing. The market rates will always find a level. In real estate, we call it comps, right? So is it reasonable to think that a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment right here that rents for $1,500 a month, do you think if you built one very similar on the next corner that it would go for $3,000 a month? No, why would it? The comparable property doesn't suggest that. So if you want to raise rents, you have to compare it against a metric that's reasonable in ownership, right? 3-bedroom house in a $500,000 neighborhood rents for more than a 3-bedroom house in a $300,000 neighborhood. That's just economics. The house itself isn't any better, but where it is and what's comparable to it has changed. So if we're going to raise the metrics, then we have to raise the comparables. Now we can start looking at luxury rental opportunities, because now we're raising the rates, we're raising the clientele and the expectations of who's moving into those developments.
Right.
And the
Well,
retailers,
that makes total sense.
And the retailers look at that.
Yeah, that
Because
makes total sense.
if you're a retailer whose average receipt is $150, right? Somebody who comes into my store is going to spend an average of $150. There's no way you're going to put yourself under an apartment complex that's mostly students.
Yeah, they don't have money.
God, no.
They don't have money.
My student experience was not that long ago.
Yeah.
If we had a couple $100 total in our bank account combined, man, we were doing great.
Yeah.
And so I'm not knocking on student housing or anything like that. It's just, I'm afraid that downtown is just becoming an extension of the university and not creating a separate identity.
That makes total sense.
Now, the students of the university can enjoy all the amenities of downtown the same way they do in Fort Worth, the same way they do in the various campuses in Dallas, right? But there has to be a distinction between the culture and the vibe of downtown, and it has to be different from the culture and vibe of the university.
That makes, I like that. That makes total sense. I didn't even think about that, but that was very insightful. Okay, so let me go to this next question. So Arlington faces increasing infrastructure and service demands. So what specific areas of the budget would you cut or reallocate or expand, and why?
I don't like cutting budgets. And here's the why. I can't think of a single public resource that we provide that we just don't need. There's not one, okay? So rather than cut budgets, why don't we raise revenues? Okay, so let's look at Arlington's budget. Arlington's budget's approximately $700 million, okay? So of that $700 million, the vast majority of it comes from property tax, sales tax, and then that's about 75% of what we get. The other 25% comes from city leases. It comes from what I call the traffic fines, right? Penalties doled out by the municipal court. And there's one other small part that plays into that 25%. But the rest of it comes from property taxes and sales tax. So let's break that down real quick. Property taxes, about 50% of your property tax goes straight to the district. Okay? We get about 30%. Of the city of Arlington gets about 30% of what you pay on your property tax bill. That goes into the general fund. About 10% of that goes towards infrastructure and maintenance. Now, sales tax, on the other hand, that's a juicy plum. Okay, so let's break that down. In Texas, we have an 8.25% sales tax. Right off the bat, 6.25 goes to Austin. Bye. See you in that pink building. So Arlington gets 2%. Arlington gets 2% of the sales tax. Let's break that down. 1% goes directly to police and fire and public safety. So half of what we receive from sales tax goes directly to making sure that the police and the fire departments have the resources necessary to protect the citizens. Okay. Now, 0.25% goes to road maintenance and infrastructure. And that makes up about 90% of what we budget for road maintenance and infrastructure. And another important note, that money cannot go to build new roads.
Right.
It can only go for road maintenance and infrastructure.
But we did get a bond.
But see, that's what bonds are for.
Yeah,
right.
We did get a bond, and most of that is for the roads.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a very important distinction. I know when people get on the campaign trail, they say, well, we need to budget stuff for new roads. That's not in the budget. That money has to come from a bond, right? So going down the track, we got another 50% of that goes towards stadium and venue debts. So Cowboy Stadium, Ranger Stadium, that's what that money's for. And then there's another 0.25% that goes to, I can't remember. I don't have my notes in front of me. But so my point with all that is that all that money is spoken for. when you go and swipe a card and you buy a meal, you buy a good, if it's a sales taxable good, that's where it goes. Now, here's a great metric. Over 50% of the sales tax revenue we brought in last year came from somebody who did not live in Arlington.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that awesome?
Wow.
So we are getting direct investments into our public safety, into our road and maintenance and infrastructure, into our, paying down the debts on our stadiums. Whether you agree with the stadiums or not, that's where that money comes from. And over 50% of it came from somebody else.
That's
so
cool.
All that was to say, rather than looking at how can we cut the budget, how can we raise the economic base to where we're bringing in more sales tax opportunities? Because that's what generates the most revenue for the city.
And that's where the entertainment district has been helpful.
Entertainment district has been very instrumental.
When it comes to that.
But not just the entertainment district. Our new cultural district with the museums, I think the Arlington Museum of Art has done a fantastic job. I was so excited with what Chris Hightower and his team were doing and getting the museum to take over space in the old convention center. That gives them so much more room to work with, literally, and it also gives them a better chance to court higher end exhibits, which they're doing.
Right.
And now with the Medal of Honor Museum being a great draw, we can finally start developing a true cultural district, which generates a lot of sales tax as well.
That's cool.
And so as we pursue these opportunities, we're naturally going to get increased revenues. Arlington is just going to continue to get those things.
Yeah, because we did have a shortfall.
We did.
And I know there had to be some adjustments that needed to be made, and taxes had to be raised. And that's it. Nobody wants to hear that. So, how can we avoid something like that?
Well, I'm going to have the back of our mayor and council on this one. Mm-hmm. They had to deal with a situation that was, by and large, outside of their control, and they were stuck having to figure it out. I wasn't a part of their conversations. I wasn't a part of the committee reports that they received, and so what thought process they went through to make that decision, I don't know. But here's what I know. I know every single person on that dais, and I know they're all good and reasonable and responsible people. I'm sure they made the best decision they could with the information that they had and with the circumstance they were put in. So if I don't know otherwise, it's not fair to assume that they didn't do the best they could.
Yeah, and I know them too. So, okay, so let me just hop on over to a couple of other questions. So let's talk about transparency and accountability. Okay, so what specific policies would you implement to make city decisions more transparent before, not after, votes are taken?
It's a really good question, and the short answer is I'm really not sure. And the reason why I say I'm not sure is because I always seem to know what's going on. I mean, just because I'm a candidate for council, I don't get any special information. They don't tell me, what's going on. Mm-hmm. The agendas are always posted. If you follow Arlington on any social media, most of the time they will post the announcements for meetings. They'll post the links for the meeting agendas. They post the live links if you can want to watch the meetings after the fact. Mm-hmm. I really don't know how many more opportunities you can give somebody to be informed. Mm-hmm. There is a personal responsibility that comes with being informed.
Right.
And I don't think it's reasonable for the city to, go and hand deliver somebody something every time they're going to make a decision. Being an informed citizen requires action on your part, and it requires a bit of responsibility. If you want to be informed, the information is all there for your disposal. ArlingtonTX.gov is very easy to navigate. Right now it's campaign season, so you can go to the homepage and it'll show you campaigns and then campaign expenditure reports.
Yeah,
it's right there, and you don't have to
second guess.
Yeah, I mean it's all right there, and so I believe transparency in government is absolute paramount because there's a tremendous amount of trust that's placed from a constituent when they elect somebody to represent them. And that's the system of government that we have as a form of representative democracy. And so when you elect a city council member, when you elect a state rep or a state senator, you are telling them, make the decisions for me. Mm-hmm. Do the research. I trust you as a person. I trust your character. I agree with the way you see things. Make decisions for me.
Yeah.
But we also have to show that we're making decisions out of earnestness, that we're making decisions with information, and that we're coming to a consensus. And that's what a governing body is.
Yeah.
So I believe in transparency in government wholeheartedly. But I also question how much more upfront you can be, right? The information is all there. You just have to have the slightest desire to go get it. And it's very easy to get. Trey Yelverton is not shy from responding to emails. Our council and mayor are not shy from responding to emails. And I'm sure most of our citizens who want it have their direct emails and phone numbers. If I was elected, you would have my direct email and phone number. So I think our council, by and large, does a great job of being truly in their community and responsive to their constituents. But if you want the information, it is there. And if you just look just slightly.
Right. I found it. Okay. So if you're elected, what are your top 3 measurable outcomes that you expect to deliver within your first term?
So first term being 3 years, it's going to be a difficult one just because, I look at the metrics I want to look at are how are we improving with our sales tax revenues, right? Showing are the things that we're bringing here, are they actually generating more revenue for us? So that one will be a little easier to see, but I wouldn't attribute it to anything I was doing because when you're looking at 3 years, a lot of that's going to come on the back of developments that were already put in place well before you got there.
Right.
One thing I certainly want to take a look at is as we're developing projects that I know are in the works in downtown in the entertainment district, our metrics for rental rates. And then also I certainly want to follow how our home values are trending. So one of the things I really look at on a monthly basis is how Arlington's home values are trending with the county and then with the comparable cities in North Texas. So I understand that real estate values differ, but the percentage of change should be consistent. Right, just because the average price in Arlington is $365 and the average price in Colleyville is $1.5 million, they should change at the similar rate of change, right? So I want to see how our developments are impacting our residential values, which to me is one of the things we absolutely have to keep a close eye on because the vitality of any community is the value of your real estate.
Okay.
And the homeowners are your stakeholders.
Yeah, they are.
They're the ones who are they're the individuals who are getting taxed, which means it's their money that's by and large funding, which means
yes, I'm still getting taxed.
as a municipal governor, they are essentially your handlers. They're the stakeholders.
Yeah.
And the largest asset that your stakeholder has is most likely their home. How that home value is trending in your community says a lot about the health of your economy.
Right.
So we definitely monitor that very closely.
Definitely. Okay, so let me ask. I know that there's been because I have people saying when you have city council candidates, we want you to ask certain questions, and I asked, and I've been doing that, and I've asked even the mayor. So recently we had a huge ADO, okay. And I know that there has been some folks that are running that said, hey, I'm for it, we should leave it in and so forth. But given the environment that we are in, the political environment, higher than local, there was a very, very huge risk of losing $65 million. And that primarily is for housing. And without that, because it's not part of the budget, it would have been instant homelessness.
Yes.
And so what are your thoughts about that? It's a toughie.
It is a toughie. Yeah. But you'll come to find out, and anybody who ever has a conversation with me find out you'll never get anything more than what I genuinely believe. I try not to fluff anything or just say, well, hey, here's what the question calls for, so I'll answer it that way. Our chief responsibility is to maintain, the lifestyle and the dignity of our citizens. Okay. I don't think anybody who would choose this office would discount the value of one of our citizens, regardless of their race, sex, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, religious beliefs, anything. The hardest thing to do is to make a decision that is going to directly, financially, and in some cases irrevocably impact one of your citizens. If that means that to protect them, we don't have a piece of language that doesn't have any enforceability at all,
True.
then that's a decision that has to be made. And making
kind of
that
the fact over feeling type thing.
well,
I mean, it really.
But making that decision doesn't say that you don't value a
Right.
member of a certain social class.
Right.
It means that you value the life and stability of one of your citizens more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the decision that has to be made.
And I think you just point, and that's something that I keep telling folks that when that issue, and it's come up a lot, obviously.
Yes, it has.
And it's true. It's not enforceable. I mean, it's just not enforceable. And
It's a great thing. It's a great thing to say.
It is a great
because
thing
it
to
shows how your city feels.
Yeah.
Right. It shows that we as a city, we don't tolerate these kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But again, that doesn't directly impact the life of a citizen the way that potentially losing the funding for low housing does.
Yeah. We're talking 4,000.
I mean,
4,000
absolutely.
citizens. I think it's 4,000. And then my thing has always been, but in a household, you can have 2 to 4 people.
Yeah.
And so you have to look at the grand scheme of things. And so that's something that I've been asking everyone, like, what if you were sitting up there, what would be your strategy or your thought process on how you would look at that situation?
Yep. And part of representative government is understanding that you are just not going to make some people happy. You are going to make a decision, and people are not going to like you for it. They're going to second guess you for it. That's the job.
Yeah.
That's the job. It's making the best decision you can with the information that you have available.
Right.
And that's all we can do. And that's why we have 9 members on council, including a mayor. It's because if you give 9 people the information, you let 9 people debate it out, I'm confident you'll come out with the best outcome. And the council made a choice.
Yeah, I think it was the best outcome because it
well, and best is so subjective. It was the lesser of the 2 choices. And it was a regrettable decision to be in. And I detest the fact that we even had to make that decision. That was thrust upon us by a force outside of us. And that's not fair.
Yeah.
But, it's also not fair to the people who depend on that funding that we are put in that situation. It's not fair to them either. It's not fair for anybody.
That's true.
It's not fair for somebody who now, because of that decision, feels that Arlington doesn't value them as much as it used to. It's not fair to them. And I don't believe it to be the case.
I don't believe it to be the case either.
But if that is how you feel, it's not fair for you. You shouldn't have to feel that way. That person shouldn't have to have, their homes hijacked by an arbitrary decision. But what's fair got to do with anything? I've never known a world to be fair. So, but that's governance.
Yeah, that is governance.
And you elect people who you think are going to stand up and in the moment
do the right thing. Yeah, do the right thing.
And
look
take
at the facts,
everybody
look at
into consideration.
Everybody
has to be considered. It all has to be considered. That's one of the reasons I specifically pursued an at-large seat. Is that I like the opportunity to weigh all the options, to look at how one thing impacts another, not just the microcosm that is your district.
Right.
Because, and I like that we have single district members because that has a great balance. There's 5 singles and then technically 4 at-larges, right? So I look at it kind of like the House of Representatives versus the Senate, right? You have a group of council members that are directly in their communities, that are right there,
in their little pods.
Speaking with the constituents,
right.
And they know every little thing about their district. And then you have the at-larges who look at the city as a whole, and then between the 9 of us, we make a decision about what's best for everybody. Not just for what's best for District 1, which is where I live, not just what's best for 5 or 3, but how are we going to benefit everybody? How are we going to maximize prosperity?
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so in closing, this is your opportunity to give your pitch to those that are considering all of the candidates that are running. We got a lot of them. What
and
is
good
it,
ones.
18, 16, something like that.
Something like that. But in my race particularly,
I think there's 4 of you guys.
well, there's 3 of us,
3.
but great candidates. Melody, Jason, both outstanding people. I have so much respect for both of them. I've known both of them for a while, and I'm fortunate to be running this race with them. They're very good people.
Okay, so what would you say to those, I guess, to convince them to, hey, vote for you?
Well, I don't want to persuade anybody, okay? I want to do this because I believe in it. People ask me, when did I decide I wanted to be on city council? I used to tell them when I was about 15 or 16. I love governance. I love municipal governance. You know, the old adage, the further it is down the ballot, the closer it is to home, is real. You know, we do things on a Tuesday meeting that will impact your life.
Right.
A new project is approved, a zoning ordinance or a zoning variance is given.
You can't say that loud enough.
That's right.
Because people don't get that.
And we all tune in to the TV to find out what's going on in Washington when, frankly, aside from our recent gas prices, most of the time, your lives are directly impacted by what happens in your city and what happens in your county.
Yeah.
That's what directs you. And I love that process. I have a mindset for somebody who doesn't come to life with his own set of biases. My formal education is in philosophy. I don't take an argument unless you can back it up. And I'm not afraid to cross-reference that argument with one of my own or from somebody else's. So as I sit and make a decision, it's always about what's the argument, what are the pros, what are the cons, and how do we balance this out to make sure that we're maximizing prosperity. I want the opportunity. Arlington adopted me, and I love this community. I've had the chance to serve in so many capacities. I've been president of our Lions Club, president of our Masons Lodge, president of our Rotary Club, and of various other organizations with me and my wife, the YMCA. This is home, and I'm not going anywhere. Okay. So I want the opportunity to serve this city. I know I can do it well. I know I can bring opportunities here that we wouldn't otherwise have and bring a perspective that we don't have, and there's no candidate currently running that has it.
Okay, that's the uniqueness then right there.
I believe it is.
Okay.
There's a lot of very capable and smart people running for election. I understand development. I understand the residual impact that it has on single-family ownership and the impact that it has on residential rental. Somebody needs to be looking at things through that lens and at least entering that into the conversation. And I just don't feel like we're having that kind of representation. And I don't think we've had it for a while.
Yeah, and I'll echo, as we close, I'll echo where, and you made a very good point when you brought up about the high luxury apartments, and it's like, well, what do they have? Because you look at high luxury apartments in other places, and they can go to these places where they're close by, where they can go shopping and so forth. And yeah, and
most of them are. So if you want to look at comparables, Clear Fork and Fort Worth.
Yeah, like Fort Worth. Yeah, you're right. Like Fort
most
Worth.
of those are rental properties. The difference is that downstairs there's Louis Vuitton and Prada and Breitling and Tiffany Co. Right? I mean,
and nice and very nice restaurants. And,
exactly right. And so I'm not saying Arlington needs to become that. But Arlington has they've expressed a desire to have those things. And I'm simply saying, if you want those things, here's how you get them. You can't persuade them. You have to be able to show economic metrics that will support the business. Okay. So if it's important to you, Arlington, I'm telling you how we get it.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right. Well, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. This was very insightful. And, I wish you the best of luck. I mean, we start early voting on the 20th.
I know it's
right around the corner.
Gosh, is it?
Right around the corner.
It really is.
Yes, and I'm hoping the more and more I've been posting a lot, like, come on, guys, we got 3 days, 3 hours out of your whole year. Come on out. You got 2 weeks or 10 days to make one of those 1 hours. Make a difference. Don't sit back and let somebody else. And
I'll say to one of the constituents watching, if you have a question, if it be for me or any other candidate who's running, you don't have to look hard to find their website. Call them, email them, ask them a question. Me or anybody else would be more than happy to jump on the phone with you and explain why we feel a certain way. If you disagree with something you've heard me say, call me and ask me about it. There's a wide chance that maybe I didn't explain it very well, right? Or maybe I explained it perfectly well and you still disagree, but that's okay too. So be engaged with the people who are seeking these offices, right? Don't make decisions off fake Facebook posts and yard signs.
Or snippets.
Be as informed as you can. Find out and then let your voice be heard. Right? Your future depends on it.
Yes. I'm so glad you said that. Thank you again, and I appreciate it. And again, I know that you're going to be very busy today, so we'll be dropping this very, very soon so others can see this.
Well, great. Well, thank you again so much for inviting me. I love the opportunity again to share some of my thoughts and visions for the city. So thank you for what you're doing and all the time that you're taking to meet with all of us. So thank you. I very much appreciate it.
All right.
All right, guys, that wraps up today's episode of Truth Talk. Go ahead and like our page and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you're always the first to catch new episodes as they drop. And thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode.